Good afternoon, everyone. I know I usually do my blog early in the morning, but I had so many personal things to take care of today. I actually missed church, which I hated. I hated to miss church, but because I didn't do some things on Saturday, I had to get them done today, and I still have multiple things to do. My work is just never unfinished, but it's okay. God always give me the strength. So today, as I was doing laundry, one of my tasks I had to do today, I was at the laundromat and I was studying out of the book of Ruth, and I'm not sure, or maybe you have heard of the story of Ruth and Boaz, and this is more geared towards women who are single. I know growing up, I wasn't taught on what to recognize in a husband, what qualities should I look for in a husband, expectations and everything. And also, nobody set me down and say, okay, this is what a wife do. A wife's supposed to be submissive. A husband's supposed to love you as Christ loved the church. So now I want to put it out there, and what a better book than Ruth to talk about, to teach you the qualities to look for in a man. Most people think, okay, well, I go to church, I find a man in the church, I'm gonna find a good man. Listen, I'm not knocking the men in the church, but it is some men in the church where, listen, they still having their struggles. So not all the men in church are a Boaz or have some good characteristics, but God is still working on them. So no one's perfect, but just in case you wasn't taught, I want to teach you the qualities to look for in a man. So I read the entire book of Ruth, and it's not really, I think it's about 4 or 5 chapters, so it's not a big book anyway, but I wrote down some notes. So I'm going to tell you guys how it all started, how God blessed Ruth and Naomi, which was Ruth's mother-in-law. So it was a severe famine in the land, meaning famine, because you're like, what does famine mean? Because I know when I first started going to church, I didn't know what all those words meant. So I'm writing some of the definitions down of these words. Famine mean like a food shortage. So it's a food shortage in Judah. So Elimelech, he took his 2 sons and his wife to Moab. Okay, and hopefully I'm pronouncing these words right. If I'm not, forgive me. Okay, so when they moved to Moab, Elimelech, which was Naomi's husband, he had died. So Naomi was left with 2 sons. So she also became a single mother. Okay, her 2 sons finally grew up, and then they got married. And one of the sons married a woman named Orpah, and the other woman name was Ruth, who the other son had married. So 10 years later, both of the husbands had passed away. They died. So Naomi took her 2 daughters, her 2 daughter-in-laws, and moved back to Judah. So Naomi told her daughter-in-laws, she was like, listen, she said, you guys are going to have to go back home. Go back home to your family. Go back home to your mom and dad, because, I'm just paraphrasing when I say this. I don't want you to be like me. You're a widow. You're going to grow old. You have no children. So you guys need to go back home to your mama, because so you can have children and get remarried. And so they both was like, no, we don't want to go back home. We want to stay with you. I can imagine in their mind they want to stay with Naomi, because this was my deceased husband's mother. She's like a big memory of their husbands. But so Naomi explained to them, listen, you guys need to go so you can go get remarried, so you guys can have children and have another husband, so you could be provided for. So Oprah finally, she was like, you know what? Okay, I'm just going to go back home to my family. So that's what she did. So Ruth was more like Rosa Parks, okay? Ruth was like, listen, no, I'm not going nowhere. I'm staying with you, Naomi. I'm staying with you, mother-in-law. Wherever you go, I'm going. Wherever you lay down, I'm going to lay down. If you die, I'm going to die, okay? She said, I'm not going nowhere. So Naomi was like, okay, so do what you want to do. I can't convince you to go back home, so come on, just stay with me. So what they did, they moved, and they went to Bethlehem. And when they arrived to Bethlehem, all the people of the land was like, oh my God, Naomi's back. Look who's back, So they was excited. And so Naomi was like, listen, I've been married. I've lost my husband. I became a widow. Then 10 years later, my sons died. You know, so don't even call me Naomi no more. Just call me Mara. She changed her name. She's like, just call me Mara. So when moving into Bethlehem, that was the beginning of the barley harvest. Okay? And there lived a man named Boaz. I love that name. So Boaz, he was wealthy and he was influential. So those are two important things, you know. Well, there's two other characteristics you could look at in a man. He was wealthy and influential. And so I looked up wealthy. I know what wealthy mean in my mind, you know. So wealthy meaning having a great deal of money, okay? So that shows right there that he would be a good provider. So that's a key quality. So and influential, having a great influence on someone or something. So if you want to be with somebody, at least especially when you're a single mother and you have children, listen, it is so good for them to present somebody, you know, to them that'll be a great influence to them. You don't want no man coming in your house, and you don't want to marry nobody who's lazy, who's not going to show your son how to change a tire or how to change a bike tire, or listen, this is how you cut the grass. You don't want that. You want them to be influential, okay? So this is what God's showing us now. So then Boaz was a relative of Naomi's husband, Elimelech, okay? So one day Ruth asked Naomi, let me go out to the field and gather some leftover grains because we gonna need to eat, you know? So she said she'll just go behind and pick up like the little scraps from the people who's already working in the harvest and pick up the grains, the leftovers. So she was working in a field that belonged to Boaz, okay? So he owned a field, a harvest field, okay? So Boaz went to his grains field, and he noticed Ruth. Now he noticed Ruth now. Keep in mind, God say a man who findeth the wife. The man's supposed to find you. You understand me? Now, of course, you got to get out there and go out for the man to find you. So he noticed Ruth, okay? Ruth didn't notice him. He noticed Ruth, okay? So stop chasing, stop going after these men, because that's not the correct order. God wants the man to chase after us, okay? So he noticed Ruth, and he asked one of the harvesters, who is that girl, okay, over there? Because obviously I can imagine in his mind, wow, she's working hard, she's picking up grains, and she's picking up the leftovers. What's that showing? A quality in a good woman, showing that, wow, not only is she a hard worker, but in his mind, listen, I can imagine what he was thinking. She's working so hard. I can imagine if I make this my wife, wow, she can clean up, she'll take care of house. Not that that's what it's all about, but that's a part of all being married. So if you're lazy and you don't like to clean up, you don't like to pick up, you don't like to mop, listen, a man don't want that, okay? And I know some women out there like, oh, I can't be all domestic like that. Well, go ahead. You're going to be not cleaning up, not cooking, all by yourself. And you saying you don't need a man, you do need one. You know why? Because God say man cannot be alone, okay? Meaning man or woman, okay? So the harvester said, she is that woman from Moab that came with Naomi, and she's been working really hard all day. She only took like a couple of seconds of work, okay? So Boaz approached her. He went over there and said, listen, stay in my field and my field only, okay? Now, I warned every man not to mess with you. Any man that was there, he warned them, listen, you don't touch this one. This woman right here, you don't mess with, okay? So Boaz was showing right there that he's a protector. So that's a good thing, a good quality in a man also, that he'll protect his family. He'll protect his wife, okay? Y'all listening? And he said to her, when you are thirsty, go help yourself at the well, okay? Ruth fell at his feet, and she was like, oh my God, thank you. I can imagine in her mind, she was like, thank you so much. You know, she was so grateful, and she appreciated that. Not only is this man allowing me to come in his field and collect grain free of charge, but he's also allowing me to go get water from his well, okay? So he's wealthy, he's influential, he owned his own grain field, and he's providing food for her. Those are some good qualities in a man, okay? Now, let me tell you something. How many of y'all have thanked your boyfriend or your husband for doing things? Not buying a gift for a birthday, just the little things. Like if you are struggling at some point and the man just bring a bunch of groceries up to your house, listen, you don't gotta lay with him, because at not one point up until when I'm talking, he giving Ruth all of these things, and Ruth haven't slept with him not one time, and he's not asking for anything in return. A lot of times these days, we as women, and I'm not trying to say it's all women, feel like we have to sleep with a man just because he bought groceries or he took me and the children out to the movies. No, we don't have to do those things, okay? Hold out. Keep yourself, okay? You're an honorable woman. Know your worth, okay? So Ruth had thanked him, just saying thank you, okay? So Ruth asked him, why are you being so kind to me? I'm a foreigner. I'm not even supposed to be around here. Like, this is not even my own kind. And Boaz heard that she was good to her mother-in-law. She was showing that she was faithful. Now, those are characteristics that a man look for in a woman. They may not tell you, but let me tell you something. A man loves a faithful woman that can show that she can be submissive. Now, that's what God say to do. Submit unto your husband, okay? You don't start showing submissive qualities when you get married, but you have to show it before. It has to become a lifestyle, because men will look at us and be like, you know what? No, she won't be submissive. She won't listen to me. If we go through something, it's going to be what she want and what she want alone. No, you can't be that way. Please soften your heart. Be submissive, okay? And show those characteristics, okay? So Boaz was showing Ruth favor by providing her with food, and he gave her wine to dip her bread in, okay? And he gave her more than enough. Okay, so he let her gather all the grain, okay, from the sheaves, which is like a bundle of grain, and he asked his harvesters to purposely drop some on the ground when she's working in the field, so she won't have to pick up only the scraps. Listen, take some of the good grains, purposely drop it on the ground so she could pick it up. Because I can imagine in his mind, look, I'm feeding her, okay? So that's a good quality. And then not only did he tell his workers, listen, you better let her pick it up, and don't give her a hard time about picking it up. So not only that, to me, Boaz knew who he was as a man, and he spoke with authority, which I love that in a man. I like a man to say, you know what? You probably just need to be quiet at this moment, sit down, and let me tell you how it is. I like a man who put their feet down and who takes authority. Some of us women need that. So Ruth went home and she told Naomi about Boaz. And Naomi was like, wait a minute, did you say Boaz? Now, Boaz is a relative of my deceased husband. So Boaz also asked Ruth, you know what, why don't you come with my harvesters until the entire harvest is complete, okay? So I can imagine Naomi saying, girl, guess what? He asked me to stay there. He asked me to stay there until it's all complete. So we're going to have a lot of food. So I can imagine she's like, wow, this is a good man, okay? So Naomi told Ruth, now, I have to find you a permanent home so you can be provided for, so you can have children. So I need to find you a permanent home. So she say, now, Boaz is a close relative. So now, tonight, he's going to be in the field. He's going to be working with the grains, okay? So she said, at the barley, at the threshing floor. Now, what I want you to do, that's what y'all got to do now. Y'all may say, oh, I know how to do that. I know. But listen, sometimes you actually got to tell people to take a bath. So what she told Naomi to do is, look, you go take a bath. You put on some nice perfume and dress in your nicest clothes. Now, some people are like, well, if he don't like me to where I am, listen. The first thing you see when you see a man is his appearance. Now, if he looking all dirty and nasty looking, you're going to be like, So you're going to have to do the same. When you step out, not trying to say you got to be all bedazzled and makeup up and boobs. You don't got to do all that. But listen, at least smell good. At least put on some nice perfume. And wear something nice. Wear your nicest clothes, okay? Okay. She said, but listen, Naomi, don't let Boaz see you until he's finished with his meal. Now, y'all know when a man's stomach is full, he's happy. So she's saying now, Ruth, don't let him see you until he finishes his meal. And she said, be sure to notice where he's going to lay down at. And she said, and when you notice where he down at, then you're going to go uncover his feet and lay down there by his feet. Listen, that's what they did back in those days. Okay? So she said, and he will tell you what to do. So Ruth did just that. She waited till he finished eating. And then she uncovered his feet, laid down by his feet. And Boaz, I can imagine, when somebody laying next to you, you feel it. So he woke up, he looked behind him and was like, okay, who is this? Because I can imagine it's in the dark. He's like, who is this? Who are you? And she's saying, well, I'm Ruth. I'm the servant, And Boaz told Ruth, you are showing so much more family loyalty. You're showing loyalty, which she showed it to her mother-in-law. She showed loyalty to him by, going in the grain fields, picking up scraps and everything. He said that you're not running after younger men. You're not running after rich or poor or seeking for rich or poor. And then she's saying, and so Boaz said, this is my favorite line, y'all, what Boaz said to her. I will do what is necessary for everyone in town to know that you're an honorable woman. Let me tell you something. Like I said, I'm not bashing men in the church. I'm not bashing no man. But let me tell you, for him to even speak on her behalf, to say, I'm going to make it necessary that everybody know that you're an honorable woman. Let me tell you something. That's good characteristics to look for in a man. Because I was called, let me tell you, by a man who I was married to, who was in the church, and I'm not trying to talk bad about him, but I told you guys I was going to keep it real. I was a BITCH, I was a HO, and this was during my marriage. You understand me? Now, not knowing those words, you say, oh my God, how am I know that my husband would ever call me that? You don't know. You understand me? But this is why we have to date and get to know a man and look for the characteristics while we're dating, okay? So Boaz told Ruth, there's only one problem. I am not next in line to inherit and to inherit the land and to marry you. There's somebody before me that's next in line to inherit not only the land, but to marry you. So I'm just paraphrasing, okay? So what he told Ruth, he said, listen, I'm going to go speak to this man and see if he want the land. Now, if he want the land, he would have to marry you. And he said, listen, if he want the land, you're going to have to marry this man, okay? So the next day, Boaz went and he spoke to the man who was next in line to inherit that land, that property, and to marry Ruth. He said, okay, man. He said, listen, I'm here. I have my 10 witnesses with me. Do you want to buy this land? Because you're next in line to inherit it. Do you want it? So the man was like, yeah, I want it. And so Boaz was like, but wait, there's one stipulation. There's one stipulation. He said, listen. He said, you got to marry Ruth. You got to marry the Moabite woman. And the man was like, let me tell you something. When the man scratches his head like this, and when he rub his chin like this, like, listen, he don't want to do it. Whatever the situation you present to him, when he do like this, he like, man. So I can imagine that's what the other man was doing. He was like, you know what? No, you can have that land. You can have that land, and you can go marry that woman. So let me tell you something. When the man go all out his way to do all these things for you, trust me, actions are better than words. Because a man can say he love you, he like you all day, but if he don't put forth the effort, you understand me, and he's consistent with it, not, oh, he treat me like this one day and then the next day. No, they're supposed to, not trying to say all relationships, all marriages are going to be all good. They are going to be good and bad. But listen, this man went out his way for Ruth, and he was showing it. He was showing it all down the line, all the good characteristics, what a woman should look for in a man. So long story short, he ended up inheriting the land. He married Ruth. and they had a son. Okay, so listen, don't settle for anything. Do not settle for just anything. I mentioned it before, because you think you're too old, because you think you're too fat, because your face not clear enough. Don't settle. You understand me? Have patience. Because Naomi, when Ruth had went back and told Naomi all these things, she was like, listen, let that man do what he got to do. Have patience. You understand? Sometimes we have to have patience. Wait. And while you're waiting, fix yourself up. Work on you. Because let me tell you something, my next relationship, I want something to offer. I just don't want to go in there, go in the next marriage with 3 children, have $0 in the bank, and work on yourself. Have patience, okay? So I hope I didn't bore you too much, and I hope I helped you. God bless, and have a nice day.